Hey YouTube, how's it going? Chris Morrish here. Thank you all for stopping by to check out today's video, which I am super excited about. In today's video, I wanted to talk about time versus money and why, if you're waiting on more money to take advantage of opportunities today, then you could be totally missing out. And hopefully these couple of little tips I'm going to give you in this video will be super impactful on what your future actually looks like. So to start off, when we're talking about building wealth, one of the things that cannot be ignored is called compounding interest. And basically what that is when interest starts stacking on top of each other, and sometimes interest can be compounded annually, it can be compounded monthly, quarterly, totally just depends on the type of the investment. But when you start compounding money, it starts to grow and use itself to leverage higher gains and create more money for you the longer term that it's invested. So a term being 40 years as compared to 60 years. Even starting with the same numbers, you get significantly different amounts of money at the end of that period of time. Let me show you some examples. So here you see we have a total of $294,457.60 in a period of 40 years, using a 6.94% interest rate, which I got from taking the average of the S&P 500 over a period of 90 years. And this is starting with an investment of $4,000 and contributing $100 monthly. Here, in a second example, we see that for a period of 60 years, again, starting with $4,000, and looking at a 60-year return, we have $1,175,620,000. Now, these are pretty big differences using the same numbers. Let's examine why that is. So as you can see, these are some pretty extreme examples and very different results. Both start at $4,000, a one-time investment, and both of these have an additional $100 contributed each month. Now, these are pretty extreme differences of over $1 million compared to just under $300,000. And of course, there's a difference of 20 years that these have been invested, but 20 years is nothing in the grand scheme, and we're talking significantly, almost 3 times as much money, over 3 times as much money for an additional 20 years. That's crazy. This illustrates the power of compounding interest. So when I say time versus money and how they're enemies of each other, this is what I'm talking about. If you waited an additional 20 years to get $4,000 and be able to invest it, you're missing out on a giant chunk of money to be able to invest. Even starting with less today and keeping it in there for a longer period of time, you're seeing significantly more gain over the course of the entire amount of time that you have had this money invested. Significantly. Time and money are always in conflict with each other. You always want more time and you always want more money. Why can you never have more of both? Well, the goal of my channel is to help you be able to develop strategies or ways that you can actually use time and money to your advantage. So let's get into why time is important. So the longer that you are building wealth, the more potential you have to be able to build more wealth because of that principle that I just showed you, compounding interest. The longer you wait to start building wealth, the less wealth potential building you have. You're going to have to use more extreme strategies and methods to be able to build the same amount as if you had started earlier on. Everybody only has 24 hours in a day. And we're not talking about the weird exceptions where some countries or states don't observe daylight savings times or things like that, or when you're flying on an airplane going backwards in time, how it feels like you're gaining time or losing time. We're not talking about that. Everybody still has, as a general statement, 24 hours in a day. And you have to use that time to your advantage, or you have to figure out how and prioritize how you want to use it. So why is money important? Well, most of the time in our life, we need money to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that time gives us. In our world, each of us start earning at some point to achieve some level of success. You might start really young. You might start by mowing lawns or babysitting other people's kids or walking dogs. But at that point in time, you're beginning to trade time for money. And this is where you can really get sucked into this trap of not being able to use your time as you want, because you're always trading it. So this concept of compounding interest is to help you be able to use your time as you want it and let the interest that your accounts are earning be able to compound and provide you with more time. So money is important because we all need money, right? Everybody needs money to be able to do what they want to do, to be able to buy a house, to be able to live somewhere, to be able to eat. I'm not just talking about in the United States. This is anywhere in the world. We're all trading time for money. Well, why not try to have your money work a little harder? This is why money is important, so that you can take advantage of opportunities. Everybody's starting to trade time for money at some point in their life. Maybe it's babysitting, maybe it's dog walking, maybe it's mowing a lawn. But at some point, hopefully, you're progressing through the difficulty and skill levels of your job and you're getting paid more for your skills. Maybe you're making $10 an hour, $15 an hour, $20, maybe even $50 an hour. And in doing this, you are helping yourself to have to trade less time for the things that you want. If you're making $50 an hour and you have a $100,000 a year job, then guess what? You don't have to work as much to afford a $200,000 home or that $40,000 car. But at the same time, if you start investing money earlier, you don't have to put away as much in order to make that $1 million a year, or have that $1 million invested rather, by the time you're age 60 or it's time to retire. So time and money are two inseparable things. You can never just have time or just have money. There's always a trade-off. And in time, I'm also referring to opportunities that will come and cross your path. Maybe you have the opportunity to go work for a new company, or maybe you have the opportunity to purchase something that could go up in value, like a home, but you have to save up for that kind of stuff. So using compounding interest to your advantage and being able to try and purchase these things is a huge advantage. When you're building wealth, you need time to earn money. And everybody is stuck in the same situation where money requires time in order to initially earn it. Until you're making passive income or earnings or things are gaining value in your portfolio. If you want to know more about passive income, go ahead, check up here for that video. As I've already kind of mentioned, every opportunity that you will come across in your life is going to require time and money. And some mixture of those two things. Maybe some are more time intensive, maybe some are more money intensive. And that's just going to depend on what the opportunity is. So an example, real estate costs a lot of money. Let's just say a house is $200,000 and you need a down payment on that house of 20%. Let's assume you're not using a VA loan or things like that will have a 0% down payment required. You're using a conventional loan like an FHA or something like that. You need $20,000 in order to be able to purchase or try to purchase this home. So that's going to require more money, less time. Another example, maybe you're starting a YouTube channel and that requires some time and some money, but I would say that is going to be more on the time end of the spectrum and less on the money side of the spectrum. Most of the things that require money in order to start a YouTube channel are having a cell phone or a camera of some sort. Maybe you have a webcam on your computer that you can use. Most of us who have smartphones have cameras built in. Actually, that's what I'm filming on right now, is my cell phone. Part of this is the creative aspect. You're going to spend time creating a video, editing a video, and that's a whole different thing, but it requires more time and less money because you've made those upfront investments for some other reason, whether that was pleasure or you just wanted to have it. On the other side, things that have very little monetary cost and a very high time commitment, things are that require creativity. Maybe that's writing, maybe that's drawing, maybe that's painting. All of those things are going to be somewhat cost, but way more time intensive. And that's because you're having to be creative and use your mind to generate these ideas. Most of the time, that's not going to cost you any money. It doesn't cost you to think. But you have to have pencil, paper, paint, whatever the case is, in order to be able to do those creative outlets. So I wanted to ask you all a question. Do you feel like you have more time or more money? And are you in a stage of life right now that you think could be changing that, where maybe you're making more at a job, or you had to take a pay cut because of COVID or something like that? Let me know down in the comments. So as we always do on the channel, I wanted to take some time to encourage you all. We always have to make decisions in our life about how to spend your time, how to spend your money. And at any point in time, you can always make a change. You can change just about anything in your life. Sometimes it requires some sacrifice, but on that same hand, you might be gaining something further on down the road. Sometimes you have to take things away from your normal agenda. Other times you're adding more things, so you might be busier and that requires more time. But you might be spending less money because you're going to the gym, or maybe you're starting a new business, or maybe you're spending time with family because that's what's important to you. Maybe you're being a good dad or a good mom by taking your kids to the park, or taking your wife or your husband out on a date and spending time and showing them that you care about them and that you love them. Those are all different priorities that everyone has to make decisions about every single day. You might not realize it, but you always have the ability to change at any point, any decision you're making. Let's decide you don't want to drink alcohol anymore. Stop. That's a decision. You might have to make it every single evening when you get home from work, but you're totally capable of it. I know you can do it. I get it. This might seem like an oversimplified idea that you can make any change at any time. Well, I think you can. There might be impacts on how your life looks, or things you have to give up, and sacrifices that have to be made for a period of time. But looking long term, you are always able to make a change, and you might not see that impact for some period of time. But looking long term, it could totally be worth it, and it could be what changes the rest of your life, or maybe your kids' lives, or even generations to come beyond that. Be smart with your 24 hours, because you only get them once a day, and when that day is gone, they're done. So why not make conscious decisions about how you're spending all of it? All that being said, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your support as the channel's growing, and all those people who are commenting and liking videos, as we learned a little bit about how time and money are always in contrast. And don't forget that setting priorities to make saving money instead of spending it, or spending time with your family to make those time versus money decisions, is important. And making those choices today, whether that was during this video or after when you were thinking about it, can have a huge impact on your life. If you like this content and want to see more of it, maybe you found it encouraging, helpful, or educational, go ahead, consider liking the video, commenting below something you liked or didn't like, and subscribing to the channel. I look forward to seeing you all next week.